This episode of the Flush Podcast is brought to you by North Dakota Tourism. Start planning your fall hunt in North Dakota at legendary.com. Today we're bringing in all the horses. My television co-hosts Ron Schara, Bill Sherck, and Scott Fransen. They're all here for a preseason primer. Hunting season is now just a few days away. Welcome to another episode of the Flush Podcast. I'm Travis Frank. I'm your host. Brandon Morton is our producer. And for the first time in a long time, I'm not talking to people through a computer monitor. I'm joined today in person by Mr. Ron Schara, Mr. Bill Sherck, and Mr. Scott Fransen, co-hosts of our television show, The Flush. We're sitting on Scott's deck outside. There's a hummingbird humming right over my left shoulder. Where did it go? Just left. That's okay. Guys, we're counting down the days to the start of another season. Anyone's trigger fingers itching?
I missed that hummingbird. He was way too fast getting away.
Well, we have a lot of comments that people have submitted. The first one is, Ron.
Yes?
What the hell is wrong with your shooting?
Well, nothing that two good eyes couldn't fix.
How are you feeling? No, seriously. Have you been out to the range at all this summer and done a little practicing? Is your eye doing?
No, that's good advice. I haven't done that, been too busy fishing, but a lot of folks don't know. It's a little more serious than that. I had a detached retina a couple years ago in my shooting eye, my right eye, and they got it reattached or I'd be blind in that right eye, but certainly changed the game for me wing shooting. It's almost impossible now for me to even maybe pick out a grouse, for example, in the woods. I use some special glasses that help, but that makes the bird look about twice as far away as it is, and so try to figure your lead with that. So if a bird's going straight away, I do fairly good. But you know what? I still enjoy the game out there, although it's not as much fun as it used to be because of my shooting eye. But yeah. I still enjoy it. I still get a few birds and enjoy the rest of the dog work and everything else that goes with upland bird hunting.
Well, and the beauty of television is you can make it look like you hit that bird anyway and celebrate. So you might as well just dance every time a bird goes down and then have the cameraman take a cutaway shot of you pulling the trigger and boom.
I learned that from Bill Sherck because he says, I got it a lot out there. And, who knows, but if you shout, I got it, who can argue with you? You know what I mean?
Right.
Bill, I have a bruise on my left toe oftentimes when I'm hunting that affects me. Do you have any health issues?
I think maybe I have a detached retina, too. I should have that checked. Have you guys looked under the table? Did you notice Ron is wearing chaps today?
He's very excited.
and bright white golf pants, too, underneath.
Honestly, right? In all seriousness, we're all targets because we work on a hunting show and we tell stories. So every time you miss, there's somebody sitting at home who's smarter, wiser, and a better shot, right?
Yep.
But that's reality. Yep. Everyone misses, and I'm okay with that.
Absolutely. I learned from Ron years ago that it was okay to miss. I watched him when I was growing up, and I thought, well, if he misses, that must be okay. And since I started working here, I've just carried on the missing tradition, just like my leaders.
Well, the truth is, we're doing television. If we didn't want to show misses, we wouldn't have to. We can put that up on the cutting room floor. It's like watching fishing shows where the guy or gal, they never miss. Every cast is a fish. Every cast is a fish. They never lose one. That gets boring, and it's also not real. If you're fishing, you miss fish, you lose fish. If you're hunting, you miss pheasants. And you should. You should miss.
That's reality.
It's reality, but also it keeps you. If you killed every bird that went up in the air, after a while you go, what else can I do here? So now, Scott, you don't have to worry about
welcome
that.
to my world.
Right. Oh, boy.
Here we go.
Well, we asked on social media if anybody had any questions leading into the show, and I've just picked 10 questions. So let's just jump right in. You guys cool with that?
Go.
All right.
Perfect.
All right. So first one, and we get this a lot. When will we be able to see your new episodes hit the air? So here's the reality, people. There are a variety of ways to watch The Flush. Right now, we are airing every week brand new episodes on the Outdoor channel. And some people say, I don't have the Outdoor channel. I still want to watch it. Well, that's fine. You can. You just have to wait a little bit longer. On our Flush YouTube channel, you can go and watch last season's episodes, full episodes in the years before that, as well as on Amazon TV. But the ones that are airing right now, the episodes that are coming out each week, won't go on the streaming services until the full season is done. So you'll just have to be a little bit more patient, or you'll have to get the Outdoor channel. Either way, we hope that you take the time to watch them and then also enjoy them. Question 2. I would love to see another episode in my backyard in Mearns country in Arizona. So, Ron, you and I have both hunted Arizona recently. I know you complained about all those cactus needles in your legs. Are they still in there?
A few of them.
Are you going to go back to Arizona?
Not if I can help it. No, that was clearly one of the toughest hunts I've ever been on, because we went out south of Phoenix towards Tucson. I think it's Tucson. And my God, for as far as you can see to the horizon on both sides of the road, any road you took, it's rolling cactus ground, which is also quail habitat. And I was with 2 Arizona biologists who were avid quail hunters. The Mearns live in a little different habitat, more hilly country.
The oaks up there.
Yeah, which they didn't want to take us to. Was a little tougher hunting, and I'm not a puppy anymore. So we stuck with the other quail there, and but you couldn't, unlike a ringneck pheasant where you can say, yeah, they're probably going to be there, they're not going to be over here. You couldn't do that with these quail. They could be anywhere, and it was a death march, and I'm still pulling out thorns. I mean, I stumbled on one. I forget what they call it. It looks like a basketball full of needles, and I didn't see it in the grass, and I hit my toe with my leather boots. I go, ow! What? So I looked, and here one thorn went right through the tip of my leather boot into my big toe. So we filmed that. I sat down carefully, and we got it out. But yet the 2 guys I was with, we got enough quail. Not we, they did. And I had an excellent chef with us. So it made a nice episode.
Yeah, Hank Shaw.
Yeah, Hank Shaw. But it was, for me, it was, I needed to be about 30 years younger to enjoy that.
Yeah, I fully enjoyed the experience out there. I went, would have been two seasons ago, and yeah, just like you said, I mean, you can look at it as far as the eye can see in every direction, and there was a lot of beauty to that. I enjoyed it. I got up in the rolling hills in Mearns country. That was spectacular. Little nugget here, I was talking to somebody who hunts in Arizona just yesterday, and he said they've been getting quite a bit of rains this year at just the right time, and this is potentially going to be one of the best quail seasons down in Arizona. So we don't have plans, to my knowledge, yet for an Arizona episode this hunting season, so that can change. Everything is flexible. This is a year like we've never experienced for everybody in every reason, in every walk of life, and that includes hunting. So we won't rule it out for this season. Just know that we're going to keep Arizona and quail country on our radar for this year.
You know, I was talking to a Texas friend of mine from Premier Ranch the other day, and he said the same thing. They've had great rains, which is what they need if they want a good hatch, and they had that. And he's predicting a booming bobwhite quail population down there. That's west of Austin.
Yeah, we'll get into some of the topics for this season and the year of COVID a little bit later. But one of the blessings that seem to be happening all around bird country, all over the country, everyone that I've talked to, is that numbers are up basically everywhere from everybody that we're talking to. So that's a real positive. And I believe that's going to be a positive because we're going to have potentially a lot of new hunters or hunters that haven't been in the field in many, many, many years, giving it a shot again. Here we go. I would like to see a dusky grouse episode. I've been watching your show for years, and you all do a great job. Aw. Scott, you want to take this one?
Sure, Trav. I think that would be a great episode, to be honest with you. I don't know that that's in our plans this year. Again, like you said, unless we change some things. But
No, dusky blue grouse.
oh,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah. Well, then that is in our plans
Yeah,
this
so
year.
I sent it your way. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, well, yes. Then there is going to be a blue grouse episode this year, and hopefully, if we do it right, maybe a Grand Slam in Wyoming, which was a state was on my bucket list. I haven't hunted it. I've talked with a friend of mine out in the Sheridan area, and we have a hunt lined up for the last part of September, and we're hoping for some blues, maybe some ruffed, some sharptails, and perhaps huns to maybe sage. But that season is almost over when we get out there. So, but it could be a really, really fun episode.
Yeah. What made you want to go to Wyoming?
You know, it was just a state I haven't hunted. And after watching your episode, it looked really fun. This is an area in Sheridan that I've been through Sheridan a number of times, and I've heard about some of the hunting out there. And I thought, I want to try something different. And it's early, so it just like the grouse season in Minnesota opens up middle of September. It opens up early out there, and I thought it'd be fun to hunt a different state early in the season to get the itch scratched, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, the slam is definitely within reach out there from my personal experience. The one thing about the September timeframe that we saw was just how hot it can get.
Right.
And so that could be a limiting factor in your ability to get in position to find all of those birds. Because, for us, when we went out there, we kind of were learning as we hunted. And it took us about 6 hours to find sage grouse. But by the time that sixth hour came, it was 85 degrees, so we were done hunting, basically. So those are some interesting factors that we always have to consider when we go into the field, obviously filming. But I'm excited for you because Wyoming is it's one of the most underrated states that I've personally hunted. You just don't hear a lot about it, but
Right.
There's a lot of birds and there's a lot of land that's available to hunt too.
Well, I think part of our hunt's going to be around the Bighorn Mountains, so we'll have some elevation. Maybe that will help with the heat a little bit. Were you out there the same time, late September? Is that when you were hunting out there?
Yeah, we were. I want to say it was the first or second, because the sage grouse season is so short.
It's very short.
Yeah, and so it would have been that mid-September-ish,
Okay.
late September, somewhere right in there. But it was hot, and then we did get up into Chucker country, and then the elevation and the temperature, was a lot different too.
Yeah. I'm excited. It's going to be a good hunt.
Yep. So there's your answer. We are going to attempt to go after that bird this year. Here's an interesting one. Love the show, guys. That's for you, Ron.
Thank you.
Yep. I'd love to see a few episodes in Kentucky. Anybody ever hunt birds in Kentucky?
Just wild turkey.
Turkey?
Really?
That's a drink, Ron.
You know what?
Actually,
I know that drink well.
you just forget about it sometimes.
I was going to say, I've only been horsing around in Kentucky.
I don't know. We talk about Kentucky now and then. We've just never.
Haven't pulled the trigger
That's good,
on it.
Trav.
Bill.
That's good, Trav.
There we go.
We haven't been to Illinois either, and
We did years ago when it was Pheasants Forever television. I believe, Bill, you did
really,
that one, right?
that was memorable.
Wow. This is why we don't film hunts together,
Well,
guys.
hold on. There was a point on the Illinois hunt. We were chasing quail. It was a few days before Christmas. Windy. Weather was temperate. And we come around a corner and the dogs are locked up and they're backing each other. We thought, here we go. Finally, we found a covey. And we come around the corner of this field row or kind of the trees, and the dogs are pointing a piece of that plastic that farmers use to wrap hay. and it's flapping in the wind, stuck in the tree after a storm. Joe Harowitz was shooting at that time. We looked at each other like, this is not what we had planned on this trip. Probably a half an hour later, we walk around another corner. The guy we're hunting with is down on his hands and knees, and he's got his ear to a hole in the ground. He's saying, I can hear the quail. They're down in the hole.
What?
And Joe and I looked at each other and we thought it's time to go home.
Well, we haven't been to Missouri either, but we should. There's some good quail hunting there. But since you're talking about strange hunts, in Iowa a few years ago, it wasn't a strange hunt so much because there were pheasants around, but I'm walking down this little trail and little woodsy grass, and my lab raven went into the grass a little ways and pointed, which he would do if something was sitting very tight. And I'm getting ready now for a pheasant. Don't know if it's a hen or a rooster, but I'm getting ready. And suddenly she jumps in there, and a flock of turkeys, a bunch of hen turkeys, took off straight up in the air.
Oh, geez.
I wasn't expecting that.
Right. It's going back to Kentucky for a second. A pattern I see, I run into a lot of hunters from Kentucky up in northern Minnesota and Wisconsin, chasing both woodcock and grouse. And they talk about a good day of hunting back home is seeing a couple of birds a lot of times, right? So maybe I'm stereotyping, but through those people I've met, I feel like our bird numbers can be a little bit better when we go north. And that's one of the reasons I haven't looked at Kentucky. So if there's somebody with a secret spot to hunt, they should certainly let us know, because we would love to go there.
Yeah, I do have one sitting in a file from somebody that sent us an idea to go film in Kentucky. We just haven't gotten there yet, and it to me feels like it would do justice to head to some of those places, as well as back to Illinois. I've got dozens of people that have sent ideas for us to go film there. But Bill, let me jump to this next one here, because you spend a lot of time in the grouse woods.
Yep.
In general, where is the best place, area, and lodge to go for ruffed grouse?
That's a hard one, right?
It's hard to pick one. I've got a couple that come to mind.
You look at the East Coast, there's a lot of history in those camps, and their bird numbers are good. Maybe I'm biased being from Minnesota, but we have really good numbers here. Northern Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, northwest Ontario is unbelievable because there's no population base. The difference is those birds up there have never seen a human. So in some ways, depending on what your definition of sporting is, right? A lot of times they just look at you with that big eye, right? They turn that eye and they look at you, and you're 3 feet away from them, throwing rocks at them on the ground, right? And then they hop up into the tree.
You try to get them to flush, and then they land in a tree branch.
So you deal with some of that. I really like northern Wisconsin and northern Minnesota. The bird numbers are good if you time it. When the woodcock are starting to move, you've got fresh birds coming in that are really fun to hunt. If you need a lodge, gosh, our guy over in River Falls is a pretty special guy. Otherwise, what's the name of his camp? Come on.
Yeah,
we both hunted with him over the years. I'll think of his name.
Yeah.
Otherwise, northern Minnesota, you've got Pine Ridge.
Ides Guides.
Ides.
Yeah.
Ide the guide.
Terry Ides.
Yep.
And his son.
Yep.
Yeah, they've got the Vislas over there.
Yep. And they've done so much habitat work.
Yep.
They manage for grouse.
Rough grouse.
Which is the nature of logging, right?
So it's interesting. I mean, we talked about this on the show, but he's got, a few hundred acres, and he has basically in his map, every year he'll have somebody come in and log, let's say 5 acres here, 10 acres here, 8 acres there, 4 acres here, and it's just like scattered aimlessly. But he does it so that within that 40-yard section, a grouse has new growth, middle-aged growth, and old growth at all times. And he says in the 40 years that he's been managing that property, the cycle has almost gone away because he hasn't seen where the just crashes, the 10-year cycle. He just hasn't run into that on his property. He had 1 year where he didn't hunt because numbers were down, but he said there were other weather factors that he felt were the major contributor to that, and it's really just the habitat.
And that's the key.
Let me add to that. The person asked about lodges. Well, that's fine. I can't think of any strict rough grouse lodges in northern Minnesota, but you don't really need a lodge. You need a motel room or a resort cabin.
Yep.
Because there's just a ton of public land in northern Minnesota that is open to hunting. There's all kinds of walking trails, hunter trails only, or ATV trails. You name it, you can find it, and there's maps. And we'll just add this. I mean, this sounds braggart because I'm from Minnesota too, and that is Minnesota has the highest population of ruffed grouse in the lower 48. Yeah. There's no doubt about that. And Scott, I took Tom Weisskopf grouse hunting one time. You're a golfer. And Tom at that time lived in Ohio, and I took him just north of the Twin Cities a little ways. And one afternoon, he and his buddy and myself, we had like 23 flushes, and we got 3 or 5 grouse. And then when it was all over, we stopped and had a beer at a little beer joint. He says, the 23 flushes is what I might get in the whole year in Ohio.
Oh, that's
I was
amazing.
shocked, but I think he wasn't blowing smoke.
Oh, I believe that. And I also think Travis, we did the show up in Canada. Bill's done a couple in Canada for grouse too. And Bill's exactly right is, if you were to leave the States, that's a very solid option because there's a ton of crown land up there that's open to hunting. And you can kind of do the same thing. There's towns you can get a motel room or a cabin or something like that and hunt your way up and down. Even off of blacktop roads, there's a ton of logging trails and things like that are open for hunting.
Of course, at the moment, you can't go to Canada. So.
Right. I mean, this year it's off limits. But yeah, the idea is the same. You just need to get into that area, and the further you go, we could have pitched a tent. We stayed in an old cabin on the lake, but all of that land is available, and we didn't walk into any woods that we didn't see birds, and that to me is what people seek out, just that opportunity. Bill, you did a story many years ago about Pine Ridge.
Yep, Pine Ridge. I would argue they are the premier woodcock and grouse camp in Minnesota, but here's why. They show guests a good time. They've got a great lodge. They have a lot of fun. Earl Johnson was our state biologist for woodcock. Earl's now retired. Earl the Pearl, everyone knows him. Earl, when he retired, got the logging maps for Minnesota. He got the public maps, and he overlapped them. It's all public knowledge. You can do this. It just takes a little bit of work. And they found where the logging cuts were right, where they matched up to water and swamp. They have, at last check, they had like 450 covers that they use, and they're all public because you just have to be able to do the research, and it works, right? If the habitat is there, if you've got a water source, if you've got 10 to 20 year cuts touching up against mature forest, those edges are going to hold birds. And that is the recipe. And it doesn't matter if you're in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Ontario, wherever you go, if you find that mixture, that is the recipe for birds.
Absolutely. And to keep going on that topic, I hear a lot of people say, the grouse numbers were down and we didn't see them. Well, I would almost say if you had success in a woods 5 years ago, don't go back to that one because that's 5 years older growth that might not hold the birds. And people like to go back to that memory, which is different than like a sharp-tailed grouse out in the prairie. If you find sharp-tailed cover and birds that are there, unless something drastic happens or that ground gets broken, most likely they're going to find sharp-tails in that cover again. Rough grouse aren't the same way.
And you don't get a lot of them walking trails. The hardcore hunters will tell you have to get off the trail system, or at the very least have a collar with a GPS on the dog so the dog can roam, because the vast majority of people are hunting within 50 yards of that trail. Those birds get smart. Stay away from them.
Did you hear that, Ron?
Well, I'll just say if you're
Get off the trail.
If you're from Kentucky and you come up here, you better stay on the trail, because if you if you're not wood savvy and if you don't have a compass, if you don't know where you're going, they might find your skeleton the next springtime. But Travis, get to the next question. People are wondering how Ron Schara became such a wonderful upland bird hunter.
I'm looking here. I don't see that one. No.
Okay, all right.
No, there it is again. Why can't Ron hit anything? Question number 11. That was a bonus question. I guess we could jump to that one.
We've answered that.
All right, let's get to the question that we're all going to face the most this year. How much will COVID-19 affect your travel to various states? As far as behind the scenes, will you have to change a lot to make this season happen, such as having less camera crew or less guests hunting with you? We have to use more GoPro type filming. Can't wait for the next season. You all do an excellent job. Once again, a lot of pick me up here from our viewers, so thank you for that. But Bill, why don't you lead us off with COVID?
First off, we're not going to let COVID get in the way of our passion, right? We want to be in the field. We want to be with the dogs. We want to be at our favorite locations. That's not going to change unless, of course, you want to go into Canada. Mm-hmm. You just have to be a little bit smart about what you're doing. Take precautions, right? We are talking about shooting or documenting more hunts this fall where we're in remote spots. Ron, that means no more Radissons for you and Hyatts.
Darn.
But we're talking about doing more camping, right?
Yeah.
Where you are within your bubble of safety with people who you trust. I'm probably not going to be in big camps where there are 30 people around, but that's okay. I like that too. I like quiet. Take the best buddy, take favorite dog, and go.
Go on an adventure. And I personally believe a lot of our viewers, based on the feedback I'm hearing too, a lot of our viewers love to see that adventurous type of hunt where we're going to go to places in the middle of nowhere and see if we can't figure it out on public land that anybody can go to. Bill, I know Montana's on your list, COVID camp, right?
COVID camp.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, the one warning we are getting about going to Montana, they are expecting an absolute record number of elk hunters. Elk hunters as a whole like to camp. So Montana is prepared for an absolute influx of people. I'm guessing the wardens are going to be very busy checking on people this year, but they've said be careful about where you're camping because there are going to be a lot of people in the woods. Yeah. Which is a good thing, right?
It is a good thing.
But you just have to dig a little bit more to find your quiet spots.
Absolutely. And I want to touch on this before we get done about the effects of COVID, just what we can anticipate in our role as hunters too. But before we do that, Scott, your thoughts on our travel, since you're really the one that steers the ship. We've got hands on the sails a little bit, but you're the one in charge here.
Well, I would just add to what Bill said. In the destinations we're choosing, we're trying to control what we can. And so if it means camping, we're going to camp. And probably, I think all of our destinations right now are drivable destinations. So that's a area where we're maybe limited. We're on a plane anywhere from 3 to 5 times in a season. We're going to make sure we can get our content and control that where we can. And then, watch the states, because if there's a potential flare-up in a state, we may have to change our plans. But right now, I think we have a good plan, and the areas where we're going are not real heavily populated. And then camping in hotel rooms. And yes, probably not hunting with large groups. But we don't do a ton of that anyways.
Yeah.
But we'll probably be limited to one other hunter. And, I think a lot of people would be surprised that we get most of our shows done with just one shooter in the field with us. They get a lot of content with a lot of different gizmos and gears that I don't think any of us really understand how much they're gathering, when they do. So we're going to be okay. I think we're going to have a really good season this year.
Yeah, I mean, we're set up to it's like we were designed to handle COVID with this television show. I mean, the reality is, look where we're going to be. We're not hanging out inside with groups of people to begin with.
By the way, when Scott says shooter, he means videographer or photojournalist.
Yes.
Ron, one shooter will not handle your hunts. I'm feeling bad for you today.
Why?
You seem like a target today.
Well, I'm an easy target, which is what you need all the time. Well, you haven't asked me, Travis, but I'll insert any of my wisdom here.
I was looking at you, just waiting.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
One, we're outside, so that's a good thing. You're not going to go hug your hunting buddies like you normally would. So you can do that. Most of the motels, etc., if you got to stay overnight, they're already geared up for sterilizing things and whatever. Some restaurants we might run into some issues there, but I think that everybody has got the same problem. And one more thing. I haven't heard of any of these, but last spring, I'm a turkey nut. Last spring, Nebraska announced no more non-resident turkey license sales. They didn't want a bunch of COVID-carrying folks from out of state coming into Nebraska. Now, I don't know if that's true for upland bird hunting in any state. Haven't heard a word, but not something. I mean, it's something you maybe ought to check out before you go to one of these states, but I can't imagine South Dakota, North Dakota, Iowa, any of these states saying stay away. they need the license money, so there you go.
Right.
One COVID tip, which I love, and a buddy kind of got me on this a couple weeks ago. Depending on where you go, you don't know if restaurants are going to be open, takeout only, closed. So what Mike has done is he's packed a bin that he keeps in the back of his truck with dry foods, with kind of the, camp chow type meals. He's just got a bunch of dinners, lunches, breakfast, so that he's prepped and ready to go wherever you are. You can just throw some water in. So if you get into a pinch where things are starting to flare up, they shut down the restaurants on you, you can still enjoy your time. So that's something I'm doing. I like that idea.
Yeah, and I think I would also say, we're based on our schedule right now, we're pretty set for the early season through October, and we're gonna kind of stay flexible for late season. And we do have some ideas to get in the plane, as Scott was saying. And I think we're just going to wait and see how that kind of plays out. But fortunately, we've received a lot of great story ideas, a lot of great hunt locations, dream hunts, interesting stories from our listeners, our viewers that have invited us out. And again, we say this all the time, but if you have a great hunt idea, a great story idea, send it on over, send it our way, because we keep that running file, and we just want to knock those stories down one at a time and show people amazing places that they can go. And I'll just add for myself, my first 4 hunts this year, 3 of them, Ron, believe it or not, I'm going to be in my Ice Castle Fish House parked out on the prairie, and I will be affecting almost 0 people in our adventures this year.
Just make sure the ice is thick enough. That's all I'll say.
I know. I have a feeling I'm going to be eating a lot of upland birds.
And you also said, hey, send us your ideas, but you didn't say where they should send them.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. You can go to theflush.tv, and on that website is a contact form, as well as if you search on Facebook or Instagram, we are at The Flush TV. At The Flush TV. You can send private messages there. They basically all somehow get funneled back to me or somebody else sitting around this table right now. Here's another question, guys. What goes into your pre-hunt planning, accommodations, hunting access, and scouting? It's kind of tailored perfectly after the last question. Scott?
That's a good question. I guess what I do, if I'm going to a different area of a state I've hunted, or even a different state, I start on their Fish and Game website. And they usually have links and or maps on that website to find out whether they have a walk-in area, if there's WPAs, waterfowl production areas, state areas, whatever it may be. there's a map. And so I start with the map and look at it to find out where are the most areas that are open to public hunting. And once I kind of see that concentration, then I look at the different maybe towns around there that might be places to stay. And most of the towns, even real small ones, still have a kind of a Chamber of Commerce website that will list the hotels. So that's one option. And believe it or not, most of these little towns have Airbnb and VRBO. And so I'll search in that area too to find out what might be available to do that. If we have, and we're lucky because oftentimes we do have friends in some of these areas that we can maybe place a or a strategic call or email to that can give us some more reconnaissance. But then the last thing I do once I've kind of narrowed where I want to be and I make the reservation and jump off, I give myself an extra day to day and a half to learn where the birds are. Because Ron touched on this earlier that it can be the same, but it can be very different. And we did a show on a public land area hunt in Kansas in January. And we hunted one spot and then spent the next 3 hours never walking a field because we either couldn't get there because of mud. And there's this thing in Kansas, and those of you from Kansas probably are going, duh, to this, but the east-west roads, after they get a lot of snow or moisture, become very muddy and you don't go on them, which was really dicey trying to figure that out.
Always bring a shovel.
Yes, yeah. And there was several times where I thought we were going to need that or a tow strap. Or we'd get to a spot and it just didn't look right. And so it took us a good full day to get kind of our mojo in place and figure out where the best places were to hunt and where to walk. And so I guess that's the other thing is give yourself that extra time because the last 2 or 3 days of your hunt or your trip will be the most productive. And you will feel at least maybe you're not necessarily having cubbies or big explosions at your feet, but you're going to feel like you're walking productive areas that will hold birds.
Right. Yeah, that extra time. And I would also say, too, we make a lot of phone calls to people, but those numbers are there for everybody. You can go on Pheasants Forever's website, and it gives you a breakdown of reps all across the country and individual regions. You call them, they will talk to you. They will give you a lot of information as to what they're seeing out there. They're living out there. If you're traveling across the country and you don't make those phone calls, you're doing a disservice to yourself because those people, especially if you're a Pheasants Forever member, they love to help out their members. I mean, they just do. So it's great. Bill, I do want to hear what you have to say, but first, Ron, how do you
only after Ron.
How do you go about talking to your assistant to get these hunts all planned for you? What's your secret?
I just tell her to get her act together. No, I tell you, I want to add to this because it reminds me of a hunt I had last year in Nebraska. I had all kinds of forecasts from Pheasants Forever people out there. We were hunting with Pheasants Forever people, and my gosh, for the first 2 to 3 days, it was a disaster. We couldn't. You'd walk a grass field and maybe you'd see 3 birds. 2 of them would be hens, 1 is a rooster way out ahead. And that was it. So, but what was going on there, besides all this advanced scouting that you're talking about, during that hunt, we had unseasonably mild, windless days, sunny. And I finally dawned on me, I think what was going on is these birds were around. They were in the grass, but way before we got to the fields, they were flying out to pick cornfields, which were abundant around there, and they were spending their time all day out there. And by the time they would come back to the grass, we had long ago left, exhausted, tired, etc. So we weren't hunting at the right times. But sometimes when you're filming stuff, you just got to go with the flow, and you keep thinking, okay, here's a new grass field. They'll be in here, and they never are. And you have to think about what the bird is doing. And they were not in the grass, although there are plenty of pheasants around. But live and learn. But you run into weather situations that change your whole strategy.
Bill.
I don't feel like talking anymore.
Did I say everything you were going to say? As usual.
To add to what Ron said, no, going back to the biologists, the other thing is with a lot of the walk-in programs that you've got, those fields change year in and year out. In the past, you show up to something that looks amazing on the map and there's soybeans or something in there, right?
Yep.
They can also tell you latest conditions on those fields for the public walk-in stuff too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and maybe even a new acquisition that isn't on the map.
Yep.
I was in Iowa last year, and we ran into that. We were with a PF biologist, and he said, this is actually public land. Most people don't know about it yet. It's a 320-acre piece, and there will be, it'll be signs on here, but they just haven't, it's just such a new property, and we're like, let's...
and did you find birds?
We may have found a couple birds. Yep, absolutely. I will get to our last question here, but before I do that, I just want to say that I returned from a quick trip in North Dakota yesterday, and I want to tell you guys that you all need to stay away from North Dakota this year because I'm going to be doing all the filming up there. Lots of birds. Just kidding about not going there. I really did, though, see a lot of birds up there in North Dakota, and their state biologists back that up. They say the ringneck pheasant crowing count is up 15% this year in 2020, and with an estimated 4 million breeding ducks, which is up 18% this year, North Dakota Central Region is just prime habitat for both hunting waterfowl and upland birds. Plus, North Dakota has more than 700,000 acres of private land open to public walk-in hunting. For the latest plots guide, visit the North Dakota Game and Fish Department or legendarynd.com. All right, guys, so the last question, let's see, I'm trying to find it here.
Just make one up.
No, I've got two more. If you could pick two places outside of North America for a bucket list bird hunt, where would they be and why? Bill, do you want to go first? Outside of North America.
I've wanted to go to South America for a long time. I've always had a bucket list hunt of chasing some of the species down there, which a lot of them are not native. They were introduced 40, 50, 60 years ago, and they've just stuck with the habitat. I've always wanted to do trout, big trout, and little birds. That's my theme, right? Small coveys down there, big coveys of small birds, big brown trout. That's one. I've always wanted to hunt in Spain too.
Yeah.
When I'll get there, who knows?
Ask the guy on your left.
Yeah, he's shaking his head. Thanks, Scott. You're just like Ron. No.
Ron, any out of the country or out of North America places that you've hunted that you would recommend, or any still on your list?
Oh, that's a tough question. I've been here thinking about it. I was in Norway, sadly, over 9/11, fishing for trout, as Bill just mentioned, as well as Atlantic cod and et cetera. But there were I tried some snowshoe hare hunting. It wasn't snowshoe hare; it was their version of a hare. And but there weren't any upland birds that I recall. And but the hare experience was interesting because we were hunting in an area that the Germans occupied in Norway, and there was German-strung barbed wire all over the side of the hill where we were walking, trying to boost out a jackrabbit. Very interesting. I've hunted ducks in Mexico. Wouldn't mind trying some quail there, although again, I think you run into they could be anywhere. I mean, and well, I'm trying to think of what else. No, I can't think of any that I'm yearning to to go to. I've hunted a bird in South Africa, which is kind of the size of a hen pheasant. I can't think what they call them now, but they're very sporty and they're good tasting. So I'd do that again, but it's a long ways to go to pull the trigger.
Yeah, that sounds like an incredible place just to experience. I've got South America, Perdiz, Bill, kind of like you, just to experience it once. It just seems like something that a hunter should see once in their life. And then I've thrown around the idea about Europe. I haven't really, there's nothing so far that I've said, yeah, that's definitely the one, but I think up in the mountains. But to be honest, there's a place that is in this country that none of us have ever been, that I would love to go someday and hunt, and that's the islands of Hawaii. There's 12 different species of upland birds there, and a Pheasants Forever chapter as well on Hawaii. So maybe someday that could become a reality.
I was going to say on Europe, the reason we don't really want to go is our hunting here is so good.
That's what I was going to add. Well, first of all, the Hawaii thing, I think we should do a staff outing there. The Flush team may need
Agreed.
to go.
We should do this podcast in Hawaii next time.
I'm in.
You're already wearing the Hawaiian pants, Ron. It'd be perfect.
I know. I've also hunted turkeys in Hawaii, so I'm way ahead of you.
But I was going to say is, for me, my bucket list is in North America. There's so many things, critters that I have not chased yet. And there's so much public land that we're blessed with here. And I'd rather follow my bird dog 90% of the time and figure it out on my own, even fail on my own, which that rarely happens, as you know, Travis.
That was the funniest thing we've said all day.
And then in as many cool species there are out of this country, I think the public, quote unquote, land options are much smaller. And so I want to get down to Arizona and chase those birds like we talked about. There's birds I want to chase in Colorado or up in Alaska. And so I think I'm going to stick with that on my bucket list before I leave the North American continent.
Yeah. Your buddy Jim Malinsiford just sent me a photo saying, hey, you guys want to come to Colorado at the end of the month? And he was holding a photo of a ptarmigan on top of a mountain. I said, yeah. All right, last question here. Can you give us an outline for the season? And rather than walk through every single episode, why don't we each pick one or two hunts that we're excited about, and we'll talk about that. And then we'll just say that it's going to be a flexible season. We have a lot of unknowns, just like everybody else. So with that in mind, Scott, what is the hunt that you're most excited about for this year? Maybe pick one or two.
Well, I touched on the Wyoming hunt.
Yep.
And don't need to elaborate much more on that. I am very excited about that one. And then I'm going to be chronicling a hunt in northwest North Dakota with a fan of the show that came up to us at Pheasant Fest and told us about not only his hunting experience, but this kind of unique camp he has. And Steve is also a unbelievable outdoor photographer. So we're going to be joining him either in mid-October or late October. It's undetermined at this point. And hopefully go for some pheasants, some huns, some sharptails, and potentially a waterfowl shoot as well. So I'm excited about both those hunts.
Yeah, I just got back from North Dakota yesterday, and I can tell you that you are in for a treat. My goodness. There's not a single pothole that isn't just overflowing with ducks right now. So for that upland waterfowl hunt angle, I know Steve likes to do that as well.
He does, yeah.
Oh, you're just going to be in heaven up there this year.
Well, I just let Jean know, my wife, that Hank and I are going to be on the road for a good solid 4 weeks. And I couldn't tell if it was tears of joy or tears of sadness. I think it was tears of joy that Hank and I are going to be gone.
Oh, Ron, how about you? What are you most looking forward to this season?
I'm going to a secret spot. It's called South Dakota. And I'm looking forward to it because the people that invited me out there also have a huge private lake that's has very dangerous walleyes in it, and they want them thinned out a little bit. So I'm looking forward to that. Man-eating walleyes.
You're so selfless.
Yeah, I know. So I'm looking forward to that. Then I'm going to another one that's sort of a mystery to me. All I know is it's in Nebraska, not far from the Missouri River, and it sounds like a hoot. And so I'm looking forward to that. Also have some, some hunts in Minnesota. We may not film, but some farmers I'm looking forward to getting back out with them. And that's about it.
Yeah. Bill?
Years ago, we did a story. I hope people remember it. A bank for $1. A good friend of mine bought the bank in Hendricks, Minnesota, the bank building in downtown Hendricks for $1. And he has grown that bank to something much, much bigger. He's created a bunch of habitat down there, working with Pheasants Forever for public hunting. And Jason and I are going to focus a little bit on Minnesota's walk-in program. I'll tease you a little bit to say the bank has grown into a full-blown brewery with a camp upstairs, 3,800 square foot man cave over the top of a brewery. So I think that might be a really fun hunt. If we ever get out hunting.
Exact dates for this hunt will be when?
There's a secret.
Brandon, after the show, write down the dates. We'll be doing another group
December. We're going to wait till we get some snow because that's a fun time of year to hunt.
It is. And I would say, too, and I'm sure you've been talking with Jason, other friends, that part of the state, just the amount of pheasants they've seen in Minnesota this year.
Yep, are really good. What about you? Where are you going? Well, where are you not going? Right?
I'm going to be on the road quite a bit. I think for me, I don't think I can pick just one, but there's a adventure that's going to be a 2-state adventure, taking the Fish House camper on the road, and I'm probably going to come home, if things go well, hopefully, with 2 episodes. One of them is going to be in Montana. The other one is going to be in the Badlands of North Dakota, and it's just a place that, I mean, you just say the Badlands and you just start thinking, what can I find when I get out there? There's personal reasons why this story is going to be special this year. I'll save those so people hopefully will tune in. But I think this is going to be the kind of adventure I've wanted to take my whole life. And I'm able to do it this year for the first time. And I think if you listen to this podcast long enough, you're soon going to find out why. So I'm looking forward to that. But really, honestly, I think this probably goes for all of us here, just to get back out into the field this year, just to walk and watch dogs and anticipate birds flushing. It's been an interesting season. I think we're all going to appreciate that fresh air and that time spent out there. And guys, I don't know what your thoughts are on this. We're going to wrap this up here pretty soon. But I will say that I just think, our role in the outdoors, everybody listening to this show right now has a little bit larger role in the hunting world this year, because if you're reading the news and you're following it at all, just the amount of people that are using the outdoors. And a lot of it comes with negativity, because in Minnesota here, I mean, you look at campsites that are trees are cut down, people are using it for firewood. And like, come on, guys, you got to stop it. The garbage, just the destruction from the overuse of the resource, I think puts a little bit of not pressure on us, but just a reminder for those of us sitting here right now today, those of us listening, that we can say, hey, this is our world, right? And we've grown up knowing how to protect it. Some people don't. Some people are just jackasses, let's be honest. And they need a reminder to say, hey, that's not right. And we can step in. I mean, just the other day, there was a guy from out of state in Minnesota, and I happened to see his license plates when he backed in the boat, and then later I saw him on the water, and he had 2 lines and he was fishing by himself, and he's from a state that you can use 2 lines. And I just reminded him, I said, hey, I know you're from out of state, but I want to give you a reminder that Minnesota, we only can legally use 1 line right now. So I use that as an example to say, if you see somebody in a walk-in parking lot and they're dumping out their shotgun shells, or they're leaving garbage behind. Just a reminder, because I think that's our role this year. Or if they're cleaning birds and leaving them lay on somebody's private land, that's not right. We want to be good stewards out there. Do you guys have any thoughts going into this season around that, or anything that we can maybe do?
Well, I would just jump in and I agree with you, Trav, is that it's kind of our responsibility as hunters. There will be more people out hunting this fall maybe than in most recent years, which is really, really good. So to respectfully remind somebody, as you did, if it's, whether it's a garbage situation, a shell situation, cleaning birds, and offer them some, tips, or know that we're all going to be utilizing the resource and to be respectful of each other. And long term, the more people we have in the field and the more we're passing it forward, the better for all of us. And so rather than maybe get our undies in a bunch, if somebody's at our favorite spot, talk to them or find another spot or share the spot, and just respect the land and the landowners if you're hunting private land.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
The world is full of negativity right now. Viruses, politics, opinions. If somebody's at your favorite spot, throw them a bone. Hey, make sure you try that little stand over there. Just pay it forward a little bit, right? Do something nice, right?
Right.
Feels like nobody does anything nice anymore, right?
Yeah.
Take somebody hunting who might not otherwise have an opportunity to do so. Do something positive, and enjoy the heck out of it, right?
Exactly. And take somebody else that maybe wouldn't have had the opportunity or the time before. They might say, you know what? Yeah, I'll try that with you this year, because they might not have anything better to do, and they might just really want to get outside.
God, I'm so happy to hear you say that, Bill. When we get off the air here, I want your list of hot spots, little small places where the pheasants are thicker than mosquitoes. Okay, thank you very much
North
for that.
Dakota.
He's willing to share with you for the first time.
In some cases, you can't fix stupid, Travis. You have to learn that. You're a young buck yet.
I try to think positive. My glass is half full.
But I haven't run into too many of those situations myself personally. Where I have run into situations is where I'm with a group of 4 to 6 other hunters, and we always talk a little bit about gun safety. And a few of those older dudes, I might as well talk to the wall or the fence post. Now, young hunters today, all of them have had to more than likely take gun safety before they can even go out or get a license. So they're pretty good. I find it's the old dudes, the 65, 70, 75-year-olds who are very used to doing it their way. They've never had a gun safety lesson in their life. Because what I like at the end of a field, whether you have a semi-auto or a pump or whatever, over and under, I say open up the action so we all know it can't shoot. Because when you're at the end of a field gathered around, that's when barrels can be pointing in places they shouldn't be pointing, and if you're not careful, maybe a gun could go off. But if it's broken, if the action's open, that can't happen. But so I go through the speech, and the next field down here, it's 2 old dudes. They haven't opened their action on their old Browning semi-auto, that they've had for 50 years. I go, but you know what? I say something now.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna take a bullet because they're idiots. So I say, hey, please open that up so I know. Anyway, otherwise, I think most hunters are pretty conscientious.
Yeah.
I don't want to beat up on us too bad.
I would agree with that. I
was just going to add, I've had several conversations this year with people that are planning on getting back into hunting too. In fact, just last week, I met with a guy who's got a new pup for the first time in years. And he was asking me questions about training and potential places to go to find pheasants where it just might be either he and his dog or one other friend. So I gave him some advice. I said, hey, if you just want, one thing I do is I like to bring my dogs out to a game farm prior to the season, especially pups, walk them through a few times, let them hear the sound of the gun, and plant the birds for them so they know where they are, that sort of thing. I said, I'd be happy to go with you and show you what I've done with all my dogs and just to have a buddy out there if you don't have anybody. And he said, that's great. Would you do that? I go, heck yeah. Yeah, that's what we should be doing is, getting people, if it's a connection they've lost for a period of time and they want to reestablish it, that's wonderful. Or if it's somebody brand new, give them a couple tips here and there.
Yep. Well, gentlemen, any other final thoughts? You're ready to hunt, aren't you?
I've told you everything I know.
Yeah, that's why I haven't missed a bird in a couple of years, Ron.
You lie, too.
I lie. All right. Well, just a reminder, our episodes are now airing every week on the Outdoor Channel. You can catch The Flush Monday, Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday. We hope you enjoy it. They're running now through the end of the year. Once again, thank you to North Dakota Tourism for helping us make this show possible. To bag your limit this fall in North Dakota, visit legendarynd.com. We'll be back next week for a brand new episode of The Flush Podcast.